Coming up on Network Africa. Kenya police chief suspends officer following death of a man in custody who had been detained for allegedly publishing false information. U.S. travel ban on 12 countries takes effect today amid rising tension over President Trump's escalating campaign of immigration enforcement. And a look into the government of Burkina Faso, President Ibrahim Traoré, our correspondent, is on the ground to confirm ordinary rumors on democracy. Hello, welcome to the program. I'm Joke Rogers here in Lagos. We begin with stories and happenings that made headlines over the weekend.
In Somalia, locals of Mogadishu have denounced U.S. President Donald Trump's travel ban on the country's citizens, describing it as defamation and discrimination. Local students in the country decried the impact of the ban, saying it will affect their future academic prospects. They called on Washington to rethink its decision. Meanwhile, Somalia's ambassador to the U.S., Dahir Hassan, has responded to the ban, stating that Somalia values its long-standing relationship with the United States and stands ready to engage in dialogue to address the concerns raised. On Saturday, locals in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Uvira, staged a citywide march with the hope of restoring public confidence in its security services and as a show of defiance against opposition militant groups. According to a local resident, the march represents a show of collective strength against advancing M23 fighters, who have made significant strides in the east of the country, aiming to inspire other regions to stand united against the aggression. This show of resistance comes amid tentative ceasefire talks between the DRC and M23 members. Thousands of worshippers gathered at the Masalikul Jinani Mosque in Dakar to celebrate Eid al-Adha, one of the most significant festivals in Islam. Muslim devotees of all ages congregated in the iconic mosque, dressed in vibrant traditional attire as they joined in the Eid prayer. Eid al-Adha, also known as the Festival of Sacrifice, commemorates Prophet Ibrahim's willingness to sacrifice his son in obedience to God. And on Sunday, West Dafor's El Janina market was bustling during the Eid al-Adha as locals report a surge in trading activity. Purchasing power remains constrained due to the rise in the price of the franc. El Janina is a city in Sudan's West Darfur state, and it lies approximately 1,200 kilometers west of the capital, Khartoum.
And we're off to Kenya, where the police chief has suspended an officer in charge of a local police station, along with all officers who were on duty after a young man died in their custody. Mr. Albert Ojwang was arrested for a post on X in the western town of Homa Bay and then driven 350 kilometers to the capital, Nairobi. Police said he had published false information. A statement by the police chief says the suspect sustained head injuries after allegedly hitting his head against a cell wall while in custody. He was later rushed to hospital where he was pronounced dead on arrival, adding that his arrest had been prompted by a complaint by Deputy Police Chief Eliud Lagat about his name being tarnished. The director of rights group Amnesty International Kenya branch, Irungu Houghton, says the death of the young man, said to have been a teacher and a blogger, raises serious questions. He calls for an urgent, thorough and independent investigation into the issue. The head of the Independent Police Oversight Commission, Ahmed Hassan, gives assurances that his team will do everything to ensure justice is served for the family and for all Kenyans. Still in Kenya, a British soldier accused of raping a woman near a controversial army camp has been sent back to the UK as investigations continue. Reports say the alleged rape happened last month close to the British Army training unit in Kenya, Batuk, near the town of Nanyuki, 200 kilometers north of the capital, Nairobi. The soldier was arrested by the UK military and questioned following the alleged incident, which occurred after a group of soldiers visited a bar in the town. An investigation is being carried out by the UK military police from the Defence Serious Crime Unit, which looks into crimes allegedly committed by British service personnel in the UK and overseas. Meanwhile, the UK Ministry of Defence has confirmed in a statement that a service person had been arrested in Kenya. Today is June 9th, the start date for the US President Donald Trump's travel ban and visa restrictions on about 19 countries. President Trump announced the new policy last week, fully banning citizens of Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, the Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. It also imposed heightened restrictions on people from Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela who are outside the U.S. and don't hold a valid visa. The U.S. administration officials claim the prohibitions are necessary to improve national security by targeting countries that have ties to terrorism, lack sufficient vetting for passports, and have high rates of citizens who overstay their U.S. visas. The ban includes exemptions such as for dual nationals, permanent residents, immigrant visas for immediate family members of citizens, and athletes traveling for major sporting events like next year's World Cup, when the U.S. hosts about 75% of the tournament games. Meanwhile, African countries, as well as the African Union, have reacted to the ban and restriction, describing the move as discriminatory and calling for the United States to adopt a more respectful and consultative approach.
Use that same pen. I don't know. Is anybody super...
And to other stories, it has been nearly 3 years since Captain Ibrahim Traore took on the reins of leadership in Burkina Faso, and there is a speculation in Western media of the type of government that he runs and if it's a democratic one. The charismatic 37-year-old has skillfully built the persona of a Pan-Africanist leader determined to free his nation from what he regards as the clutches of Western imperialism and neo-colonialism. Now, after seizing power in a coup in 2022, President Traore's regime ditched former colonial power France in favor of a strong alliance with Russia that has included the deployment of a Russian paramilitary brigade and adopted left-wing economic policies. This included setting up a state-owned mining company requiring foreign firms to give it a 15% stake in their local operations and to transfer skills to Burkinabe people. The rule also applied to Russian miner Nordgold, which was given a license in late April for its latest investments in Burkina Faso's gold industry. As part of what President Traore calls a revolution to ensure Burkina Faso benefits from its mineral wealth, the junta is also building a gold refinery and establishing national gold reserves for the first time in the nation's history. However, Western-owned firms appear to be facing a tough time, with Australia-headquartered Sarama Resources launching arbitration proceedings against Burkina Faso in late 2024 following the withdrawal of an exploration license. The junta has also nationalized 2 gold mines previously owned by a London-listed firm and said last month that it planned to take control of more foreign-owned companies. For many young, disenfranchised people, he is seen as someone who stood up for Africa. He has spoken against imperialism, urged the people to unite, And he has also reminded everyone of the strong leadership of Thomas Sankara, but there are others who worry about the survival of democracy in that country. Let's get more on this now as we bring in Channels Television Sahel correspondent Mo Sani Aliyu. Thank you for joining us from Burkina Faso.
Thank you for having me, Joachim.
Right. So, Mo, we are learning that there's growing sentiment for a return to democracy in Burkina Faso, despite all of the reforms President Traoré is doing in the country. How deeply rooted is this sentiment?
Well, I just arrived in Burkina Faso about a week ago, and right off the bat, I noticed that there is a lot of restlessness amongst mostly the young people here. When I asked them what actually was their aspiration for Burkina Faso, for the country, most of them told me that the country is facing economic challenges and they do not see any solution in sight. The crisis in the north of the country, where the insurgents have taken over large parts of the country, and also to the west, near the border with Niger, has made life very difficult. During this recent festival, that is the Eid, the Eid festival, they call it the Tabaski here, I noticed a lot of people from the north and from the western part of Burkina Faso in the capital. I asked whether it's a different way of doing things here, because normally in many African countries, people leave the cities, empty the cities and go to the hinterland, to their cities, to their villages to celebrate. But in this particular time, I noticed so many people were coming into the city, and I was told that it's due to insecurity. So the issue right now that bothers most of the young people and even other people I have spoken to over the past week is basically economy. And that has impacted negatively on how they feel about the future of their country. There's a lot of worry.
And this future also, does it include any indication that the country could return to democracy from what you've seen so far in the past week that you've been there?
Well, there are no clear indicators. Only thing I have noticed is that the press locally here, some of the media organizations I visited, I noticed that last week they posted or they published a joint statement telling the government that its war on terrorism in the north is affecting the operations of the press. They are saying that some of the officials of the Burkina Faso government are being overzealous and they are targeting members of the press unduly or unfairly because they are talking about a return to democracy, a date. I remember around May 25th last year, over a year ago, the Burkina Faso government, this government, announced a 5-year transition program to return the country to democracy. It's been a year and a month since, and people here seem to be worried that there is no movement in that direction. No political parties have been given any movement or instruction to start any activities. So things are actually not looking very rosy for the politically here. There are still some worry.
Right, and what about the reports that negative sentiment is frowned upon and there's no freedom of speech?
Yes, that is another thing. Specifically, when I arrived here, I was told I had to go and register with what they call the Superior Council for Communication. I went there and they took quite some time, 3 or 4 days before they could even acknowledge receive the letter I brought, which one of the minders, because it looks like because of the situation here, the unique situation here, even the journalists have minders who are tracking their movements. So I was followed all the way to my hotel, and one of them told me that they are afraid that I may start giving out negative reports. I assured them that I am actually going to be very fair. I will only say what I see if they give me a chance to operate in the country. So many members of the press who came and spoke to me, and those that I visited, they told me that there is a lot of fear, that they are not getting any signs that things will get better soon. Things will get bad before they get better. That is the sentiment I'm getting.
What about other issues that we've been looking at? Some of the reforms that we spoke of earlier, the reforms in the country. What have you seen so far? What can you tell us about them?
Well, politically, I can't say I've seen much, being that I've been here only a week, but I've seen a lot of economic movement. The government has opened, an example, beverage and food processing factories that have been opened across the country. The large conglomerate Coca-Cola has been in Burkina Faso for over 20 years, shut down 5, 6, 7 years ago, but they have now been able to bring it back, and many other factories are operating in the agro-allied business part of the economy. But apart from that, things are really not looking very rosy. Economically, there are a lot of challenges. Young people are still battling the same issues they have been battling, as far as I can see, for forever. The issue now is the government is facing an insurgency in the north. Most of the money has been diverted to security operations. They're spending over half of the country's budget on security alone. And that has impacted on the country's ability. One other thing is that its grouse, or the problems it's having with the Western countries, has also impacted on the incoming, or the money that is coming into the country, foreign direct investment. All the other countries, like the mining companies, they are not spending any more money in this country because they know that in the near future there will be the economy here will not be favorable to them investing in it. So money is not coming in. People are feeling the economic pinch, so to speak, and the government has very little option. Russia, China, and Japan are the only countries seem to be having any presence here.
Right. Mo, thanks again.
Thank you for having me.
And still to come on the program. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa reiterates urgent need for fundamental economic transformation in the country. Welcome back to the program. Let's get back to that travel ban by US President Donald Trump, which takes effect today. It has gotten African countries affected worried over their relations with the United States, but analysts say it's simply a fulfillment of Mr. Trump's promise to voters. Legal practitioner Anthony Ogunfeibo and public affairs analyst Chike Chude say they are not surprised by the move. They were speaking on our foreign affairs program, Diplomatic Channel.
You see, the starting point, what I would say there is, of course, it's every country always seeks to act in its best interest and to protect its best interest. But at the same time, I think there are ways of going about it that will not lead to any rancor or consternation or issues with other countries. And the appearance that is being given here by the visa ban is that it's rife with so many inconsistencies and also lacks clarity. And as a result of that, lots of other countries, particularly the African countries that you mentioned, Chad, Sudan, and countries on the ban list, are basically up in arms because they believe that there's this sentiment that they're being unfairly treated and bullied by superpower.
I'm not surprised. In fact, people who have been watching Trump years before he got into his incursion into politics will realize, if you go back to videos that are as far back as 20 years, 25 years, some of the things that Trump is doing are things that have been in the public space for a very, very long time. So from that perspective, he has been very, very consistent. If you look at what the geopolitics that's going on around Europe, the issue with NATO and with NATO, the North African, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, are things that he has talked about. An issue of trying to get NATO to pay their fair share in terms of a contribution, NATO countries, in terms of contribution to the NATO cost. These are things he's talked about. So at the level of immigration, there is really nothing new about what he's doing.
South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has reiterated the urgent need for fundamental economic transformation, highlighting that inclusive growth and empowerment must go hand in hand. Speaking at a Black Business Council event, the president underscores the council's critical role in addressing the country's historical injustices and economic disparities.
One would say that we are in a transformative era in our country, because transformation is not simply about just reform. It's about rethinking systems to ensure that, yes, there is dignity, there is equity, there is also sustainability and resilience for the future generations that will follow us. And it is to this end that we adopted the theme that we did for our G20, that it should be about fostering equality and fostering sustainability and ensuring that, yes, there is full transformation. Now, the current polycrisis that the world is facing, which manifests in the way that it is, as I articulated, demands systemic change rather than incremental adjustments.
And finally, on the program, Meta has officially launched teen accounts on Instagram, a new feature designed to protect teens by default. The launch event in Lagos brought together teens, content creators, parents, and policymakers, all with a goal to create safer, more positive online experiences for the next generation. Here's more in this report.
Anything worth doing at all is worth doing well.
Meta, the parent company of Instagram, brings together teens, content creators, parents, parent influencers, and policymakers in one room for the official launch of teen accounts on Instagram in Nigeria. Teen accounts are designed to create a safer and more age-appropriate environment for users under 18, automatically setting their Instagram accounts to private, limiting unwanted contact, and helping both teens and parents feel more in control of their lives online.
Teen account is actually a very bold move from Meta, and it's an important one for us because we want to ensure that teens have age-appropriate experience when they are online. And we do not want people who should not be picking them to pick them, and so which is why there's a lot of privacy, ensuring that teens are safe online.
We've been working with stakeholders from all across the world, including Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, to just understand what does it exactly mean for our team to be safe on our platforms. And so the feedback that we kept hearing from all the stakeholders is you need to make this platform more safety by default, more privacy by default. And this is something that now we've been working with our product teams to make possible.
Thank you very much for being here.
With this approach, Meta is providing the tools and resources to help families navigate social media with more confidence right at their fingertips.
Safer Internet Nigeria survey shows that 38% of young people aged between 10 and 18 have experienced some form of cyber harm, from harassment and hate speech to scam attempts and exposure to inappropriate content. The question before us is no longer if online safety matters, it's how quickly and how effectively we can respond.
The event also features 2 engaging panel sessions. The first, Connecting Generations, Safe and Positive Online Experiences for Teens and Parents. And in the second session, experts share best practices and learnings from digital literacy efforts in Nigeria, highlighting how collaboration between tech platforms, regulators, educators and families is key to digital safety.
Our hope is that people can begin to see young people as entrepreneurs, as individuals of value as well. So there are some young chefs, teenage chefs, for instance, that will have the opportunity to showcase the basic meals that they need. And there's some activists. When I say activists, they're all about recycling, going green, changing their communities. Certainly, they'll get the opportunity to showcase that, influence other kids as well.
People at this point on social media are using certain words, certain phrases. So the fact that we can have that feature where you can go and use certain words, certain phrases, so that your child can never always see that at all. It's for this decade, it's a huge win. It's a game changer.
It's not just about rules, it's about reassurance. With 97% of teens globally choosing to keep these protective settings on, the data speaks volumes.
It actually helps parents keep an eye on their children, and it's a very good platform. It's very, very good, and it helps children navigate their fellow peers, to talk to their fellow age group, and it's very good because they can come together and bring out an idea and share what they have learned online.
I think it's very laudable that Instagram is putting these measures in place for teens and then also giving us access as parents to the back end to be able to really see what's going on in terms of our children's activity on social media. So I think it fosters good communication. It fosters trust between the parent and child, just for me to be able to see and then for them to also know that they're being watched and monitored. I think it's a fantastic thing.
From parental controls to privacy features, teen accounts on Instagram is all about teenagers, their safety, and creating safer online spaces for them. Because in the end, it's not just about being online, it's about being safe, supported, and seen.
That's Network Africa. Thank you for watching. I'm Joke Rogers.